Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is episode 19 in our TBR We Trust. I'm Sara.
I'm Tessa, and this is Checked Out with Green Hills Public Library.
Today we have another challenge of sorts. Tessa and I decided to select a few titles for each of us to read throughout the month and kind of pick each other's TBRs based on things that we think the other will enjoy, things that we really wanted the other to read, and just some outlandish funny picks because why not? Now is the time to get Tessa to read any romance book I want. So I did take advantage of that.
This was my time to make Sara read some fantasy, and I also took advantage of that.
So my TBR for the month was The Wolf King by Lauren Palferman, The Bright Years by Sarah Damiff, We Are Always Tender with Our Dead by Eric LaRocca, Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross, and City of Gods and Monsters by Kayla Edwards. And there were a few switch-ups. We had a conversation, and we'll cover it when we get to it. So stay tuned.
The TBR that Sara chose for me is Girl Dinner by Olivia Blake, Deep End by Ellie Hazelwood, Son of the Morning by Akwaeke Emezi, Beach Read by Emily Henry, and Against the Loveless World by Susan Abulhawa. I also had a switch-up / replacement.
I started with We Are Always Tender with Our Dead by Eric LaRocca. And before I dive into my thoughts, Tessa, can you give us a little pitch?
So, We Are Always Tender with Our Dead is the first in a trilogy by Eric LaRocca, and it is about the town of Burnt Sparrow. We go a lot of different avenues and follow a lot of different characters in a very short amount of time. But the general gist is that something weird has happened in Burnt Sparrow. And when I mean weird, I mean like dead people on the main street of their downtown just laying there. And these people came in who have no faces and are the ones that did it. And it's like a lot of the town. And they stay laying on the street. One of our main characters and his dad are like guarding these bodies because the town refuses to move them. And it just gets weird. It gets weird from there. That's the general synopsis. It's definitely gory and definitely high up on the horror scale. So if that's not something you do well with, maybe don't read this or any Eric LaRocca.
I know you are a huge fan of Eric LaRocca, so I was not nervous or anxious to get into this one, but I really wanted to like it because I know that you really like their work a lot. So I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. Just to preface, I have read quite a bit, I think, of LaRocca's previous works. This is their first full-length novel, Tessa? No, this is not their first full-length novel, but this is the first full-length novel I think I've read.
Probably.
But I think I read, At Dark I Become Loathsome.
Yeah.
That one I did read. And I have mixed reviews about LaRocca's work. Sometimes I'm like really into it. And there's one that I always forget, but we'll have it in the Aspen list. Or
You've Lost a Lot of Blood.
Yes, You've Lost a Lot of Blood that I really enjoyed. That is probably my all-time favorite story by them. So I hold everything else that I read to that kind of standard or like compare, which maybe is wrong, but it's something that I can't help doing since they're written by the same author. My thoughts on We Are Always Tender with Our Dead. This is originally supposed to be a door stopper of a book. It's supposed to be like maybe 1,000 pages, 900 pages, something of the sort. And the publisher ended up choosing to split it into a trilogy. And so this is the first book in a trilogy. So I tried to remember that as I was reading that we're building this world. We don't have a lot of information. We'll get more answers as the series continues, potentially. And just kind of keeping that in mind. I will say the town was very interesting. And the writing style follows LaRocca's style pretty well, I would say. Like anything that they've previously written, like I would be able to close my eyes and tell that LaRocca wrote this. There's a lot of like articles that are added into the narrative that kind of breaks up the traditional structure, which I thought was enjoyable. There are a few character perspectives that we follow and characters that we follow. And of course, it's extremely gory, which is expected of one of Laraka's works, and I always enjoy. So for me, this ended up being a 2.5-star read, which you might think is low, but that's actually average, folks. Okay, 2.5 stars, that's half of five. So stay with me here. Um, and I think that I gave it that because I think it would have been more impactful if we had the full story. And while I did enjoy the structure, I think that it felt more like a bunch of short stories that they had and wanted to make into like this full world. And so sometimes it felt a little discombobulated or disjointed. Um, but overall, it was pretty enjoyable. I probably will read the second book and the third book, depending on how I feel about the second book. But I probably will pick up the second just because I want to know what's going on in this world. Also, there's one scene that wigs me out so bad. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but it has to do with hair. And I was just wigged out. Anyway, that's all I've got for that one.
I completely agree with your general take on it. My rating is a little bit higher, but I think that technically speaking, this is the best that Eric LaRocca has ever been. The way that it's written, I also, my number one critique was that this should have been one work. The publisher should not have split it. And I think that that is why you got the impression that it was more like short stories that got split up, because if you don't have the whole story, you don't have all the connections, especially with it being written as one full book. That is, in fact, yeah. I think that that was a mistake, but I get it from like a marketing standpoint of it. Eric LaRocca's books are all very short. So to have that come out, I feel like I could understand their worry of it not like selling quite as well. But I do think it was a mistake. I think this setting is the most well fleshed out. It very much is about Burnt Sparrow as a town and less about the characters in Burnt Sparrow, which is definitely a new take for them. Usually it's very character focused and the setting is just kind of there. But yeah, I agree with your problems with it. And there are some scenes. Like I would wager maybe this is the most gory as well.
I don't know. Things have gotten worse since we last talked or spoke. There's a lot going on there. But I think that because it's like a shorter story that you don't have a lot of room to expand on the gore, whereas here they're working with more pages, so they have more of an opportunity to add those scenes throughout.
Yeah, and things have gotten worse is told in like emails. So you get like what the character's recounting, not like the actual explanation of the scene. Maybe that's why I think this one's a little bit more gory. Also, one thing that I love, I don't know if you, I'm assuming you probably caught it, but in We Are Always Tender with Our Dead, the amount of references which they have like in interviews talked about how they love to like weave those things in. So like if you get it, you got it, and if you don't, you don't, but it doesn't do anything different with the story. But like the callbacks to different titles and phrases that they have used in previous work, like they've things have gotten worse since we last spoke. The characters say it. There's a reference of an apple peeler. There's um the word loathsome comes up a lot. And that's just fun. It doesn't really do anything either way for the story, but I think it's fun.
It's the Easter eggs. I love Easter eggs, and I think that it's fun for fans of Laraka. Like, you caught a lot of those Easter eggs, and that was fun for you, so I'm glad you loved that.
I'll go chronologically as well. The first one that I read that you gave to me was Girl Dinner by Olivia Blake.
Okay, so some background about Girl Dinner. It follows two main characters and switches from their POVs. One is a new mother that is trying to re enter the academic work field, and the other is a college student that is super into thinking about the future and her place in it and wanting to be the woman that has it all and a very powerful, independent person. And so she joins the most elite sorority at her college. The two main characters kind of waltz around each other throughout the story, and we see how their worlds connect at a certain point. And cannibalism. There is cannibalism in this. But I will say that it is sort of on the back burner, which is an interesting choice since this was, I think, kind of heavily marketed with the cannibalistic theme in it. And I'm sure that Tessa will have some thoughts. I have some thoughts too, so I'm excited to hear what she thinks. But I overall liked this. And so I hope Tessa did as well.
My general thought on the matter is I just wanted so much more than I was given. I don't think it is bad. I don't think it just didn't give me what I wanted / felt like I was promised. It's a cannibalism story. Is it there are scenes, but like we could have started this so much earlier in the story, and compared to Olivia Blake's other work too, this felt very thriller to me, not horror or like literary. It felt very like Lisa Jewell-esque, which that's not a dig. I have read and liked a lot of Lisa Jewell books, but I wanted horror, I wanted spooky scary, and I got boring men and annoying sorority girls. And that's okay. My rating for this is a 3-star average. My Goodreads review literally says I don't have anything important or critical to say about it. And then I said, womp womp. I'm glad I read it. It is one of the only Olivia Blakes that I haven't read. And sometimes they're bangers and sometimes they're not. And I really wanted this one to be. The idea is really good. I think it would be a fun movie or a TV show. And I feel like it was kind of written that way. Maybe that's what I mean about like the thrillerification of it all. Characters' roles are just very flat. And I do think it was on purpose. But I think that she does character work so well in other books of hers that instead of feeling like it was on purpose, it felt like it was like rushed.
That's funny you say that about the characters because in my notes, I have that the characters were dynamic and I wanted so much more of them. So clearly we read it very differently, but I do have like a similar rating. I gave it a 3.4, a 3.5 to 4. I said I was torn between the two. I think I really liked it because I liked the commentary in it. It talks a lot about motherhood and being a woman in academics and trying to kind of find your place in the world while like doing both, being a mother and working, which I think is an interesting topic. And I liked the way that she approached it. I did want more of the cannibalism because, again, I love gore, and there wasn't really much of that here. It's kind of cannibalism, but light. Closed door cannibalism, for sure. Um, which is okay. And then at times too, I thought that maybe the cannibalism was just metaphorical because we hadn't seen it in so long. And I'm like, well, when are they going to start eating people? When are they going to kill these men? And then finally we get to a point and I'm like, oh, okay, that's what's going on here.
Yeah, I don't think that this is in any way a spoiler. It's what the book is pitched as, it's what the synopsis is. It's not cannibalism out of left field. So I feel like we're fine in saying this. She finds out about it at like 60%, I want to say, and we're not doing anything until like 90%. And I think that that is what made her character so flat to me because she's just like running around being like, this is so crazy. Ah, oh my god. But like we're not doing anything. We're low-key okay with it. And in the beginning, I'll give you with the mother and going back to work and stuff. it was interesting. You can definitely tell that that's a lived experience for her. But I feel like once we hit the point where we're, like, in plot and not in, like, the exposition of it, I don't know that woman. She could be anybody.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I do think that the more dynamic character was the sorority girl. I think that she added a lot, especially, and this is like sort of a spoiler, but in that moment where the two main characters meet for the first time and she like pinpoints all of these things. It was kind of like profiling. Like if you've ever watched House, where like he'll like zoom in on certain elements of the patient and like you'll see him thinking, like that was what the scene felt like. It felt like it was in slow motion of the two characters meeting for the first time. And again, they don't meet for a very long time. I think again up until like well after 50% of the book is when they are face to face for the first time and kind of realize that their worlds are so entwined. Um, and I thought that that was like a really interesting point. And I'd love to just have a book on the sorority folks.
I think we went wrong with the cannibalism.
Yeah.
I think that this could have been way more lit fic social commentary, and I think that we didn't that's what brought it down for me because I was waiting the whole time and, like, wanting it to be so good, but if we didn't have that at all, I think my overall enjoyment would have been higher.
The next book that I read is The Bright Years by Sarah Damith. Tessa actually read this a little bit before I read it, so I was shocked that she had picked it for me to read so quickly after she finished.
Yeah, just for the folks at home, my reading really bad right now, not really doing it, it's fine. But one of the books that I have read is in this period of time is The Bright Years, and I gave it 5 stars. It's a literary fiction. You could argue historical fiction, but when things are taking place in like the 2000s, it doesn't always register as historical fiction to me. But the tagline is one family, four generations, a secret son, a devastating addiction. We follow the Bright family. We start with Ryan and Lillian, who are eventually one of our other main characters' parents. As they meet, they fall in love, what their relationship is, how the dynamic changes when they have a child. And it's really a character study on what family means, what unconditional love means, how secrets can ruin your image of people, and yeah, it's really just a family drama with some like generational trauma.
I am so surprised that I enjoyed this, actually. I went in pretty blind, ended up rating it 4.5 stars, and I'm surprised I enjoyed this because I don't normally gravitate towards family drama fiction. That's not usually my forte, but I think it should be because I love a drama TV show. That's for me. But I really flew through this. I did it on audio, so I would 10 out of 10 recommend doing that, especially since it shifts in perspectives, so you have multiple narrators.
I also did it on audio and I feel the same way. The like ending of a certain section feels very like abrupt in a good way when you're listening to it, and I don't know about you, I flip pages when I'm physically reading things. Like, I'll flip pages to see, like, ends of chapters or whatever, and I think if I would have seen, like, where the shift was, it wouldn't have been as impactful to me than, like, me just, like, going about my business and then hearing it switch. If it was very like, "Oh, okay. This is not really exactly what I thought it was."
I agree. The switch was pretty jarring at first, but then I was like, "Wait, okay, this seems like it's a good spot to do this or like a good moment to get this person's perspective." This is a debut, which is so shocking to me. The writing is really refreshing. There were so many lines that I pulled that I enjoyed, and I think that it's well worth the read, and I can't wait to see what DNFed has coming up next. My one thing with it is the prologue. I felt like it gave some things away a little bit that I wish were hidden, like, even throughout the story itself, like, regardless of the prologue. I think that there's elements where I'm like, maybe I wish that we weren't bringing this up because I would have felt that the idea or theme there would have been more impactful if it wasn't hinted at throughout the story. And I don't wanna say what it is because I don't wanna, like, ruin it for anyone. But overall, I really enjoyed this. It was a standout debut, and I'm excited for the next one.
The next one that I read is Deep End by Allie Hazelwood, and I will let Sarah explain this one for you.
Oh, I love Deep End. This might be one of my favorite Allie Hazelwood books. This one follows a competitive diver that is just getting back on the circuit after having an injury, and an Olympic level swimmer. They attend the same college. They are on the same team, or like they have practices at around the same time. So they sort of know each other. They run in the same circles. And one of the fellow divers' friends is dating said swimmer. They end up calling off their relationship, and she recommends that our main character dates her ex-boyfriend. Yeah, there's not much that can go wrong there. So the swimmer, who is Lucas, and our diver, who is Scarlett, end up in this sort of fling relationship. It's very explorative. They are getting to know one another and themselves throughout this experience. And slowly, their relationship blossoms into something that is more than just a fling. Then tensions are high. And there's some characters in here that I just don't like, and they start butting in at the wrong times, and that's where I'll leave it. But I do love this book.
Some people might be shocked by what I'm about to say. I like this book. I really enjoyed it. I ended up somewhere between a 3.5 and a 4. It probably would have been a 4 if it wasn't so neatly wrapped up in a tiny little bow. But I can also acknowledge that that is very much an Allie Hazelwood move. And so can't really fault her for doing what she is known to do. Like I knew that going in. It is my third. Yeah, my third Allie Hazelwood. I've read Bride, thought it was fun. And then Check and Mate, which is her YA romance. It was okay. It was fine. I think I would have liked it better if it was adult. But yeah, no, this is definitely the best. I think I rated Bride higher, but I also think I was a lot less critical at that time. But like as far as actual storylines go, I really enjoyed Deep End. Scarlett was actually not an annoying female main character to me. She had like annoying things she does, but like they were very realistic to me as someone her age and under her amounts of stress and stuff would do. This is obviously the first STEM reference of Allie Hazelwood's that I've gotten. You will never catch me reading The Love Hypothesis, etc. I'll watch the movie though, because I like Lily Reinhart. But the science side of it was very fun to me. Also, I love an Olympic sport. We're not like at the Olympics here, but they're training for them. And Lucas is really good. He simply says whatever. Whatever is in his little mind, he's going to say it out loud. And it is usually funny, if not jarring. And that character that you speak of, I hate her. I hate her so bad. She was really not good. But yeah, in a shocking turn of events, this was very fun, very compulsively readable, which is what I find Allie Hazelwood's writing usually is, even if I'm not 100% obsessed with the story. She knows what she's doing to make you feel like you're like flying through it. But yeah, I enjoyed this one far more than I thought I would, especially because it is not one of her most well regarded books. When it came out, the people were not really vibing with it. I think there was a misunderstanding in the marketing of that. I think it was done, the book itself was done an injustice, and that's why people didn't like it. But I knew that going in, so it didn't hinder my experience.
I also love Lucas. He might be my favorite main male character that Allie Hazelwood has written. If not my favorite, then my second favorite after Eli in Not in Love, Love Not in Love. But I'm glad that you enjoyed this, and I think that it kind of shows where Allie Hazelwood's home is in romance, because Check and Mate was her first divergence from adult romance into YA, and then Bride is her first divergence into like paranormal. But this is like where she lives. This is where she's made a name for herself. And so it makes sense that this would be one of the better ones of the ones that you've read, or the one that you've enjoyed more. Yes, a win for me. You liked this. I love that. Also, for the girlies that love the Easter eggs, there are Easter eggs in this one as well.
There is, and I knew that, but I don't even know those people.
Yes, it's just that good, guys. The next book I read was The Wolf King by Lauren Pofferman, and this opened up a can of worms, or I should say a can of wolves for me.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. But yeah, that's an inside thought. It's fine. But I'll let Tessa explain what this one is about, and then I'll go into my thoughts, which are a lot.
What I want to stress about The Wolf King is it's fun. We're not taking anything too seriously. It's just simply fantasy romance fun. This book follows a princess, Aurora, and she is betrothed to like the scum of the earth man. And obviously she's not really vibing with that concept for herself. And we open in a dogfight arena, basically, where captured werewolves, whatever, are set to fight to the death. And our girl Aurora, classic fantasy romance girl, tender heart, she simply can't do this. And she says, "You stop it right now. I'm the princess, going to be the queen. We're done here." And everyone's like, shock, horror. And she later goes into the cages where the wolves are to check on this young wolf that she did not allow to be killed. And the wolf that was fighting him is, in fact, an alpha. And they meet, and then we run away. And that's all I'll say as far as the synopsis of it. And like I said, it's fun. It's not show stopping, never been done before, best writing I've ever seen in my life. It's just fun, and it's compulsively readable, or at least it was for me. Like, I flew through book 1 and book 2. Like, it was like as if it was a novella kind of a vibe.
I think that my friend Tessa is correct. I do love a wolf. I love a shifter romance. And some might say that it's from my Twilight days, but who's to say? I don't know. I can't tell you. I think it's from my Wattpad days, actually, to be honest. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get into my thoughts on The Wolf King. I have to agree with Tessa, 10 out of 10. This was a super easy breezy read. I could not put it down. I, in fact, was actually itching to leave my job so that I can go back and read, which is, I think, one of the best feelings ever. I ended up rating this 4 stars, and I came to the realization that I'm extremely critical of fantasy and fantasy romance because it's new to me and not the world that I typically live in. So I'm paying more attention to the characters, the writing, the world building, because I feel that I have to like give it my all because it's like a newer genre to me. So I tried to like keep that in mind and like remind myself, hey, Sarah, you're thinking too hard about this. Relax. It's really not that deep. This is a shifter romance. We are just here to have fun. And once I did that, I had so much fun. This was great. I loved this. Did I find Aurora, our main character, a little annoying at times? I did. She's kind of giving like, woe is me, I have no choice. Which, like, okay, sometimes she doesn't really have a choice. But, like, just a little annoying at times. And our main male character, Callum, who's the alpha, also giving very I'm big, strong alpha man. I'm so cool. Like, I don't know. There were times where I was like, dude, you have a savior complex. Like, just say it. Just say it out there. And I will hint at it possibly being a love triangle or something with another character alpha that I really like, and I'm rooting for him. His name is Blake.
We're all rooting for him.
Exactly. We definitely are. In Green Hills, at the Checked Out podcast, we're rooting for Blake. I really like him. I think that this was fun. I did, in fact, ask Tessa if I can swap one of my picks so that I can read The Night Prince, which is the second book in the series. So I read that in place of City of Gods and Monsters. And I'll say it was an excellent choice for me.
Yeah, when you were liking The Wolf King as much as you were, I was like, yeah, read that second book, leave City of Gods and Monsters out of it, because they are very different in how they're written and like what we're doing there. And if you were in The Wolf King and having fun there, going to City of Gods and Monsters wouldn't have gone well anyway. And I mean, why not continue a series instead of starting a new one if you're enjoying it? Now you're ready for when the third one comes out.
That's true. I am. And I did enjoy the second one. I rated it also around 4 stars, it looks like. And don't want to give too much away, but I will say that we see a lot more of Blake, which I like. And excited for the third one, like you said.
This is where things got off track for me as well. Yours got off track in a good way. Mine got off track in a bad way.
Boo.
I don't know if you're booing my experience or me.
No, at the experience. Why would I boo you?
Well, chronologically, the next book that was on my roster was Betrayed by Emily Henry. Sarah, you want to pitch it for us?
Yeah, I do want to pitch it. So, this is one of Emily Henry's first, I think this is actually her first adult romance. And it follows a romance writer that doesn't believe in love anymore. And so she spends a summer at her parents' cottage, where she meets Augustus Everett. Our romance writer is January. And Augustus is a lit fic author, and January writes these romance novels. And so they kind of clash heads a lot. They have a history with one another as well. So that creates a lot of tension for them. It's sort of like an unresolved history. And they're both dealing with their own issues separately. She's dealing with this relationship that she had with her father and the grief that kind of is surrounding her. And Augustus is dealing with the fallout of his marriage, the end of it, and kind of trying to navigate being alone and finding himself again. And the two of them fall in love. And it has made for some of the greatest lines in the Emily Henry universe. The girlies love this one. I will say that when I initially read it, I gave it like 3.5 instead of like a 4.5. But I can be convinced to give it higher if I reread it, I think.
Yeah, this is where the wheels fell off the bus, truly. I DNF'd this book 40% in. It's just so truly not for me. I have a very complex relationship with Emily Henry. I really enjoyed Happy Place when I read it. I will never reread it to find out if I still believe in that truth. I've also read People We Meet on Vacation, but that was, I don't know, how many years has it been since that book came out? A long time. Many a year. I liked that at the time. I was also way less critical than I am now, and didn't really have a wheelhouse at that time. I was kind of just reading whatever. Didn't have like a very good developed sense of what I wanted in a book. Similar to what Sarah was saying about fantasy romance, I feel this way about contemporary romance. I will pick apart these characters to no end because I have nothing else to pay attention to. I don't have, it's not a horror. I don't have external scary things happening to me. It's not a fantasy. I don't have magic or a new world. I am simply just in this character's head. I think she's truly one of the most whiny, self-absorbed main characters I've ever read. I get it, we all have stuff going on, but like to the expense of Gus, and I do like him. I do. I like his dialogue. I thought that was done well. But like if this man loves January, I don't love him. I don't like him. Because she's bad. She's really not good. I'm so sorry to the girls. And I'll say it's just not for me. It's not mine. I didn't expect to, if I was going to DNF anything on your list, I would have expected it to be Deep End, not Beach Read, just because the plot of Beach Read sounds better to me.
I'm surprised that you thought that you would like Beach Read more than Deep End, but also kind of get it because like Deep End is a little bit more silly goofy, whereas Beach Read has more, I think, not character work, but like she's trying to do a lot more with it, whereas Allie Hazelwood like knows like this is going to be fun and like we'll sprinkle in like a little bit of seriousness in it, but for the most part this is just going to be a fun ride. So I'm surprised that you enjoyed it more, but not mad. I think you gave good reasoning for both, and yeah.
But this is where I changed the script around and I impulsively decided to read It's Different This Time by Joss Richard. And we know her, we love her, we talk about her every episode at this point, and good for her. Sarah has zero idea on my opinion of this book.
Yeah, up until this point, we've discussed as we've finished and worked through our TBRs, we have like talked about how we felt about each of these books. But I have no idea how she feels about It's Different This Time, and I do think that she hated it, but we'll see.
What do you think my rating is?
I think you DNF'd it.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not.
Oh,
I finished it.
I think
I read in silence. I said nothing
you
to
did.
you.
Yeah.
Well, originally I wanted it to be a surprise in general that I was doing it, but then it was like too silly, goofy, hee, and I had to tell you. And so then I decided that I would have absolutely no communication with you about it.
Yeah, you didn't even put it up on your Goodreads.
I updated like my progress twice, but there were no thoughts. And when I marked it as read, I didn't rate it yet.
I think you gave it 3 stars.
Okay, I gave it 4.
Yes.
It's good. It's really good. I can understand if like with your love of the X-Files, where the translation of really loving this is. I prefer the X-Files, but for a debut, I thought this was really, really good. The writing and the characters, a real breath of fresh air for me after Beach Read. They feel so real. Like every interaction they have, I'm like, oh yes, of course. Like these are real people that are like going through this right now. And I needed that. Not that people aren't annoying like January is annoying. But like any time that I was like, you guys are kind of annoying me, I was like, oh, but like that's really real. Like if I was you, that's me. Yeah, they're cute. I like them. I would read, that's a stretch maybe. I would, depending on what the synopsis is of a sophomore novel from Joss, I would consider reading it, which is pretty big for me in the contemporary romance genre of it all. I would also like to see her do different things. I think that her writing can work well in a lot of different genres.
Agreed. And I can tell you now, her sophomore novel is How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days vibes.
Okay. Yeah. That's kind of fun.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. I think it's coming out either later this year or early next year. I think later this year. So excited for that. I'm sure that it'll pop up on some podcast episode at some point.
Oh,
when I read it.
definitely.
Yeah. Tessa's going to keep it going with another one of the TBR picks I had for her.
Yeah, we're gonna go with Son of the Morning by Akwaeke Emezi, who is a newfound love for you.
I do love them so much. I just read Little Rot by them. That was a 5-star read for me. But Son of the Morning is their first fantasy, or adult fantasy, and they want to live in this world. Like they want to put out fantasy, like epic fantasy, Brandon Sanderson level stuff. And I think that Emeze's writing is so incredibly intricate and just flows so well that, yeah, I can see this happening, even though I've never read a Brandon Sanderson in my life. But I can see them building a really intricate and detailed world. Son of the Morning, though, paranormal romance, and I don't know much about Son of the Morning, so Tessa's gonna pitch it.
Yeah, I was Sarah's guinea pig for this one. She wanted to know if it was following the trend of how much she was liking Akwaeke Emezi's other work. So I ran a trial run on it. Hard agree, the writing in this, incredible. This book is very short. It follows Gailey Kincaid, who is part of a magical paranormal family, but no one really knows what her whole thing is. Other people in her family have like clairvoyance and different things like that, but Gailey's just an anomaly, and she moves out of her family home into like a bigger city in this world, and eventually ends up meeting Lucifer. Yes, like the devil, and his princes of hell. And it's fun. It's a fun time. I think that there's a little bit too much plot going on for the amount of space that it took up, but the world was very fun, the writing was amazing, and the romance is very insta love, but you told me, right? Like they acknowledge and like that was what they were trying to do with this. And so I accept it. I'm fine with that if we're acknowledging that we did that on purpose and we weren't trying to have this quote unquote slow burn that every fantasy romance wants to say it has, even though they're together like 50% of the way through the book. No, this is very immediate. Overall, I would have just wanted a little bit more expansion. I think I gave this a 4, but I would love to see what else they do in the fantasy world. I would love their epic fantasy. I think because their writing is so good, that's what really made me want the expansion of this world, because I knew that if they did it, it would have been done really well. So I'm excited to see what comes up next from it. And yeah, it was worth reading. I think you would think it's fun.
Okay, good to know that I should give this a try. It's on my TBR still, so I'm hopeful for it. And I've done Ikweke's like lit fic and fiction. I like romance sort of. So I want to kind of get a taste of all of their different books or all of the different genres that they've written in. I know that there is 2 in YA that I want to try as well. So I'm excited to see how this goes, and I'm glad that you enjoyed it enough. My last pick is really wild. Hee hee hee. And I'm kind of surprised that I stuck it out with this one, to be honest. I really did not think that I would, one, enjoy it, two, continue reading it, and three, do it pretty solely on audio. But in an effort to be less critical of fantasy and just kind of enjoy the ride, I've decided to stick with audio for this one. And it is Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. And I'm almost done. I'm not quite finished. So I haven't formulated all of my thoughts on it, but I do have some thoughts from where I'm at now. I'm about like 60% in.
This is one of those fantasy books that I just need everyone to trust the process. When I pitch this to you, it's not going to seem like the most intriguing synopsis I've ever given you. Just trust and believe in me, okay? One of the reasons for recommending this to Sarah is I think that Rebecca Ross's writing is definitely something that Sarah can connect with. regardless of it being a fantasy. It's also a very different vibe from like the Wolf King and being like so fun and giggly. This is a little bit more whimsical, lyrical. I would say I like not sad, melancholy maybe, but it follows a goddess and a mortal, and they just keep finding their way back to each other in this like very messed up, politically driven, like there's just, I don't know, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going against them. They both are very intricate characters in my opinion, and I think the magic is really cool. It is semi tied to Divine Rivals, but I don't think that you need to have read one or the other to enjoy one or the other.
Yeah, I actually ended up DNFing Divine Rivals. I couldn't really get into it, so that's why I was interested to see how this would go for me and kind of leaning towards, oh, I'm gonna end up DNFing this. But I'm glad I stuck it out. I do second her writing is fantastic. It is, I think, what I could expect from fantasy writing. If fantasy writing is like this, this is good. This is great. I really enjoyed it. Well, I'm enjoying it currently. I like the magic system. I think it's so interesting. It revolves around constellations and a little bit of astronomy there. There is this world that we see with the gods and the war between the different clans of gods that I think is interesting. And our main character sits in the middle of this, and I like her too. Like, she is not a main character that I think is annoying. I think she's
She's
actually,
not.
yeah.
She's and every like whiny moment she has is like so warranted that I'm like, okay, girl, you got me.
And she's a very interesting main character. I like her. I like our main male character as well. Even the side characters that like we see flashes of here and there are interesting. The different gods and goddesses, their stories and backgrounds. It's all very enthralling and enchanting to me. And I'm enjoying my time with it. So I think it will definitely be highly rated once I'm finished.
Hey, I did kind of good.
You did. You killed that,
Thank
actually.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. My last one is Against the Loveless World. Sarah, would you like to explain it?
Okay, so bear with me. I haven't read Against the Loveless World in a while, but it is so beautiful and so thoughtful and thought provoking. And it follows a young Palestinian refugee as she tries to find a better life for herself and her family. And she kind of hops around the Middle East in order to do so. She gets moved from place to place, and we actually meet her at the start of the story in an imprisonment. And so this is not a spoiler. It opens up with this scene of her imprisoned, and we follow the timeline and history of how did she get here. And I think, like even Tessa says, there are moments where things are looking up for her throughout the story, and then you remember or you're taken back to a flash forward of her being in prison, and you're like, well, what went wrong? What happened here that this is our present day? There are a few trigger and content warnings, so I would make sure that you look into those before you start reading. But I would definitely recommend, especially if you don't know a lot about Palestinian history and the lives of some Palestinian refugees, because I think that this is very true to history, and it reads very much like a memoir, although it is a story of fiction. But I think that that's just a testament to Susan's writing.
This was no brainer 5 stars for me. I would highly recommend the audiobook for this because she reads it herself, and so that really like ratchets up the fact that it reads like a memoir. It feels, you said it best, it feels so personal. Like you have this main character that is telling you her story from her point of view, and even when you're in like the past timelines, she's telling you something. Like there will be not like super, what is that, second person? Not like it's super second person, but like there are certain indicators that you know that she is telling this story about her past, and we're not like fully like living it with her.
there's a clear connection between the book and the reader that is,
Yes.
like, very prevalent.
Yeah. The writing is really, really, really good as well. I felt like I learned a lot about because like I understand Palestinian history in the history capacity. Like if I was sitting in a history class and being taught those like big key moments, but because this was so personal, I felt like I learned more that way because I don't know, to fully understand it you need to be in like an everyday person's shoes. And yeah, specifically certain points of it where I was like, okay, yes, we're getting this on track. We're doing okay. We are making money. We are having friends. We are healing these hard traumas. And then yeah, you're smack back to her in the cell. And just knowing how it's one of those cases where like you know how it ends and it's still so devastating when you get to the end. I don't know. It's a I wouldn't say it's a hard read, but it's a lingering read. I keep finding myself thinking about it. And yeah, I would highly, highly recommend it.
Woohoo! What a way to end off on 2 books that we enjoyed reading. Love that for us. We still have our book talk to discuss, and for this episode, we read Tradwife by Saratoga Schaefer. This was a horror book that focuses on motherhood, being a tradwife, and social media, which are things that all interest me. I love to see them in a story, especially if the main genre is horror. I think that there's so much to say about that through a horror lens. I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was doing anything that was too different or outside of the box. It took a while for things to pick up for me, but once they did, I was like, okay, let's keep this momentum going.
Yeah, in my review, I said that I wanted more, but also less. I think that this could have worked really well as an even shorter story or novella or expanded on just a little bit more. I also think that people who don't really read horror but might enjoy thrillers would find this to be, no, would end up liking this. But I did like the commentary on tradwives and like the influencer of it all. I think we could have gone farther, but it was very interesting to be in the head of someone who is subscribing to that way of life, but has a past of a very different way of life. And like that internal battle between the two. It was just like the horror elements that fell a little flat for me, honestly.
I would have really liked to see it flash forward from past to present to see our main character's life before becoming a trad wife and like being a part of this world on social media rather than having that horror element. So I agree with you there.
Overall, I think I gave it a 3 star. I don't really think it did anything wrong, but it didn't do anything too crazy for me. I would be interested in what else Saratoga Schaefer puts out.
Agreed. I also gave it 3 stars and yeah, I'll read another Schaefer book. Our next pick is Gunk by Saba Sams, and it's a 4 hour long audiobook. We don't have much to go off of, except I think the cover looks pretty cool.
It definitely does.
So stay tuned for that and our next book talk in episode 20. As always, if you have any questions or recommendations for us, please make sure you email us at ghpl@greenhillslibrary.org.
Thank you guys so much for listening. This has been episode 19 in our TBRs We Trust. I'm Tessa.
I'm Sarah, and we're checked out.